Find Your Path, a short guide for living with purpose and being your own man, no matter what. Introduction. When you think about what it means to be a man, there are probably lots of ideas that instantly pour into your mind. However, when I think about what it means to be the kind of man that follows his path in life, and whom a good woman can respect, love, admire, and rely on, there is only one idea that pops into my mind, and it's this. Being a man is about having the courage to go out into the world in order to use your spiritual, mental, and physical faculties in a creative manner to get your needs met while meeting the needs of others in the process. Simple and straightforward, isn't it? There are many things you can start doing to become a better man. The kind of man that knows his mission in life and who has the inner confidence to go after what he wants and deserves. But the first thing you must do to begin this journey is take responsibility for your own maturity. If there is something that you want in this life, you're going to have to go out and get it without waiting for someone to give you permission. No one will or should be in the position to give you permission to go out and get your needs met and the needs of those that you are responsible for. You're a man, and no one should be directing the course of your life but you. It's important that you take the responsibility to ensure that you know where you're going and who is going to go along with you. That's why I wrote this short book. If you've read any of my other books already, you know I like to get straight to the point by providing you with practical ideas and insights. This book will be no different. It's designed to be a companion book to my other books to help you get a handle on other important areas of a man's life that may not be directly related with attracting a woman and keeping her happy. Each chapter is written like a short essay to help you extract the ideas without having to sift through meaningless self-help jargon. Use this book as a short, motivational tool to get you to take action as soon as possible. Think of it as your personal guide to help you find your place in this world while developing a strong sense of self-approval. I want to help you to get the most out of your life each and every day, and to help you to understand just how much potential you have as a man. So read on and please enjoy. I hope along the way you find your purpose, unlock your hidden potentials, and become a self-directed, high-quality man of action. Table of Contents. Chapter 1, Every Man Needs a Mission. How to Discover Your Purpose. Living with Heart, The Path of a Warrior. Personal Choice and Freedom. Chapter 2, Iron Sharpens Iron. A Man Becomes the Company He Keeps. On Living with Honor, The Habit of Brotherhood. Chapter 3, Using Constructive Anger. Harness Your Anger, Every Man's Tool for Being More Assertive. The Link Between Anger and Fearlessness. How to Use Your Anger to Overcome Fear. Chapter 4, Practical Ideas for Personal Growth. How to Say No Like a Man and Mean It. How to Get Out of Your Comfort Zone. Acting on the Counterintuitive. Chapter 1, Every Man Needs a Mission. How to Discover Your Purpose. If you haven't yet figured out what it is you'd like to do with your life, worry not, we're going to change that. The first thing you should know is that what you do with your life in terms of work is directly related to who you are as a man. Who you are as a man will determine the kind of work that fills you with a deep sense of fulfillment. It will be work that it inspires you to want to do your best regardless of the rewards or lack thereof. It will be the kind of work that you'd want to do even if you weren't being paid for it, and it will transform you into the kind of man that adds value to the world around him. It's the kind of work that refills you with energy rather than drains you, simply because your love for it keeps you going. And most importantly, it will be fun for you. You'll feel as if time is flying by as you engage in your work. Men who are very passionate about what they do can sometimes forget to eat because they're so engaged. They may forget to eat, sleep, wash, and groom themselves simply because the love that they have for their work keeps them fully immersed. In other words, they're constantly in the zone, and this sort of vocational passion fills them with inner contentment and confidence, both of which are highly attractive to a woman. But your first order of business is to understand exactly what it is that you have to offer the world, and what is it about the world that grabs hold of your curiosity and fascinates you. First, know your gifts. To put it simply, your gifts are what you have to offer the world. It is the combination of two things: your characteristic strengths and your natural talents and abilities. You may be a masterful communicator with a natural ability for speaking in the front of large groups of people. Not only that, but you may be quite competent when it comes to taking charge of intense situations, mediating ideological conflicts, and coming up with innovative ways of accomplishing difficult tasks. With this interesting combination, assuming that you're passionate about helping disempowered persons to get justice while seeing people prosper in their country, you may be perfect for work in politics or in government administration, where you get to take part in mass communication while helping people to get their civil rights met. Second, know your passions. The phrase, "man, know thyself," comes to mind here because that's exactly what you must do if you want to understand your particular passions and interests in life. Your passion refers to the things external to you that you are very interested in, whereas your gifts refer to intrinsic abilities, competencies, talents, and skills. Your passions have more to do with the things in this world that fascinate you beyond explanation. For instance, let's say that you're obsessed with sports of all kinds and that you understand the details and nuances of various different sports. You could even be interested in the psychology of how players think and perform on and off season, and even how the coaches strategize for winning their games. Now, let's also assume that you have a natural gift for communicating effectively in both written and verbal formats, and that you have masterful analytical skills. Chances are you may be perfect for work as a sports commentator or a sports writer. When it all boils down to it, your labor of love will formulate at the point where your gifts and your passions intersect one another. This is the ideal point at which you will find the highest fulfillment in your work. This is also known as the sweet spot, so to speak. So now that you have an understanding of how important it is to know what it is that you want to work on, here are a few ideas to help you figure out what your purpose is and your preferred choice of vocation might be. 1. Get rid of your distractions. We talked about how becoming your own man will require you to get rid of the noise around you. Well, the same thing applies when you're trying to discover your mission in life and the kind of work you want to engage in. Get in touch with your inner compass by choosing to separate yourself from the many distractions and inputs of the outside world. Try going on a media fast for at least 1 week to a month, depending on your own personal needs. Cut off the television and begin journaling your thoughts. Resist reading the newspaper and instead have a conversation with someone who knows you well. Don't listen to any audiobooks or podcasts during this media fast. Just learn to sit still and listen to yourself. Unsubscribe from the countless blogs and magazines that you receive, even if only for a while, so that you can be free from distraction. And keep this in mind always. The biggest enemy to you not becoming the kind of man that you want to become through the fulfillment of your life's mission is distraction. Read that last paragraph again, write it on a sticky note and place it everywhere so you'll be constantly reminded. 2. Journal your thoughts. After you manage to get rid of all the outside distractions in your life, begin to journal your thoughts on a day-to-day basis. Write down anything that comes into your mind, because during this time of distraction fasting you'll begin to get antsy. Yes, that is correct. You will begin to feel a bit of discomfort, especially if you've really been too connected to the distractions of the world around you. And during this time of discomfort, I suggest that you really jot down everything you're feeling. 3. Analyze yourself. As you journal your thoughts, ask yourself the tough questions. Questions like, what did I really enjoy doing as a boy? What do I really want to do with my life? What do I really love doing that can make the world a better place? What am I really good at? What do people think that I'm really good at? How can I get more fun, freedom, and fulfillment in my life? What kind of work really inspires me? What motivates me to take action and solve problems? What kind of problems do I enjoy helping people solve? What kind of work have I always wanted to try? What kind of legacy would I want to leave behind? When do I get jealous because other people are doing what I'd like to do? When was the last time I did something and lost track of time? What gets me really fired up just by talking about it? What pisses me off about the world today? go wild with these types of questions and just get it all down. Don't limit yourself or think that something may be too wild and crazy for you to accomplish. Think big and cut yourself some slack. Finding your purpose is the most important thing you can do, not only for your own happiness, but also for those who need what it is you have to offer the world. If you refuse to be honest with yourself and discovering your mission in life, then you're being selfish. The world is already filled to the brim with mediocrity. Refuse to be a statistic and embrace the life you'd love to live. You better embrace it, because the world needs what you have to offer. We're counting on you, so don't screw us over by choosing a life of ease and complacency. Challenge yourself to discover your life's mission and join the ranks of those great men who were determined to live with zest and vigor as they pursued their purpose with courage. So for our sakes and yours, don't be a wuss. Discover your purpose, and go out and live as if you die tomorrow. Take action now and live with a sense of urgency when it comes to your mission in life. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anyone's approval. Just do it. Living with heart, the path of the warrior. Newsflash, you're going to die someday, so think for a minute. If you were going to die tomorrow, how would you live your life right now? If you knew without a shadow of a doubt that your life would end and that everything you worked for would be taken away from you and that there was nothing you could do about you, how would you choose to spend your remaining time here on Earth? These are grim questions, I know, but I've asked them in order to help you to really think for a moment. As human beings, we tend to be more motivated by fear of loss than by hope of gain. So when you begin to think of your life in terms of you not having it anymore, you begin to put things in the proper perspective. And in the face of death, few things are as important as what you've done with your life in terms of valuable contribution, and whom you spent your life with while adding to their happiness and well-being. In the midst of the unknown, the only things that matter are what we've done to improve the world and the lives we've touched along the way. Really think about that for a moment. If you want to live your life with purpose, become mindful of your own mortality. Become aware that you have a limited amount of time on this earth, and that time is literally of the essence. So do not squander it. The warrior's path is one in which he is constantly aware of the fact that death can come at any time and at any hour. With this always in mind, the warrior lives each moment as if it were his last. He lives fearlessly, maximizing his potentials at each waking moment, knowing that what he does on earth echoes in eternity. He follows his own path and finds happiness in his work and the woman that he chooses, knowing that the more he pours of himself into each moment he's given, the more he must receive both now and in eternity. This is the warrior's path to living life purposefully. You must learn to live fully aware of your impending departure from this world, and come into full acceptance of this truth. Only then will you be able to face each day fearlessly in the pursuit of becoming the man that you want to be and pursuing the goals and dreams that you've set for yourself. The warrior's path to living life purposefully means that you are determined to be, do, and have the life you want, or die in the process of being, doing, and having. You've committed yourself to your path, regardless of the outcome, and you know that no matter what happens, you've done your best and attempted courageously. The path with heart means a path that requires great courage, so if it doesn't challenge you to tap into your infinite internal resources, then it's not a path with heart. But I believe what often happens to us as men when it comes to choosing a path with heart is that we have a feeling of, I'm not prepared to achieve this. It's a feeling that stops us from choosing a more fulfilling path because we often feel as if the task is beyond our abilities. Sometimes we may even feel as if we're unworthy of such a great mission. It's a bunch of crap. The path with heart will require you to face your inner demons, denounce their hold over you, and embrace the life that you've always wanted. So don't accept the victim's attitude that says, who am I to attempt this, or let someone else take this challenge on. Instead, adopt the warrior's attitude that says, if I don't do it, then no one else will. Let that sink into your mind for a minute. No one else can do what it is that you were born to do. It's that unique. No one else can or will embrace your unique mission in life. And know one else can touch the lives of those you were meant to touch in the way that you were meant to do it. The whole world loses out when you decide to play it small. So I repeat, do not screw us over by not living up to your potential. The warrior's path requires courage, and in order to develop that courage, you must consciously and consistently challenge your own limiting beliefs about what you can be, do, and have. So don't be afraid to fail publicly, and don't be afraid to look ridiculous even to yourself. If you can find happiness and fulfillment in the process of becoming a better man, then that is all that you need to carry you from challenge to challenge. Discover your purpose, follow your path, and live fearlessly. This is the way of the warrior that exists in all men. Personal choice and freedom. When you begin to align yourself with a purposeful path, the people around you may not accept it right away. In fact, they might be tempted to hold subconsciously you back in subtle ways. Consciously, or discovering your own path as a man will mean that you have chosen to become something different than you are now. This kind of change will not only cause friction within yourself, but with those around you as well. In an attempt to keep things the way they are, those who are nearest to you may say or do things to discourage you from growing into the kind of man that you truly want to be. Those who think they know you best will want to keep you just the way you are. Why wouldn't they, since this is how they've always known you? Change is a scary process, and the people closest to us may have a difficult time adjusting to our own personal changes. The reason for this is that it disrupts the balance of their world. It's something new and different. This creates discomfort for those around us, and the most natural way for them to react is to do what they can to maintain the balance of their little universe. Be careful of those who claim to have your best interest in mind, especially when you're deciding on the direction that is right for you. No one else fully knows what the best interest is for another man. This is especially the case for a man who has decided upon his destiny and who has chosen a path and purpose of his own. Your loved ones, friends, colleagues, and women probably do have your best interest in mind, and sometimes that can be the problem. In an attempt to keep us from failing, from falling, and from suffering, they will try to discourage us and keep us limited in our own minds. No one wants to see someone they care about suffer or fail miserably. However, the more I grow as a man, the more willing I am to give another man the opportunity of failing and making a complete fool of himself. Without the opportunity to learn for himself, how will a man know how strong he truly is? How will he come to the knowledge of just how strong he can truly be? It's important that you find and build a relationship with a woman who is willing to support you in your mission. So long as you're not doing anything illegal or borderline asinine, you should expect your ideal woman to be a supportive, suitable helper to you. It's sad to witness the life of a man who is not given the opportunity to fail and make a fool of himself. I believe that making a fool of yourself in the pursuit of a worthwhile goal will not only humble you, but the event will reveal to you some of the most interesting things about your character that you'll ever learn. No family member or intelligent friend should ever rob a man of this opportunity. In fact, the opposite is much better. We should encourage our fellow man to take risks in attaining a worthwhile goal. Of course, good counsel and prudence is necessary to ensure that the risk itself is not greater than the reward. But even so, when the cost has been counted, and it seems to be a worthwhile endeavor, we should encourage our fellow man. When a man has made up his mind to pursue a goal that is out of his reach, beyond his comfort zone, and clearly improbable, he should be encouraged, and if his mind is already made up, give him your support. Even though the man who is ardently following his dreams will always appreciate the support of those around him, he knows that he will accomplish what he set out to accomplish regardless of who supports him. This sort of man is what we call self-approved. Although, it would be great if we men could all have our own personal cheering squads, showering us with praise and encouragement as we work boldly towards our ridiculous dreams. That's not going to happen. The man who has found his path and is set firmly on it will realize that it really doesn't matter whether or not those around him support him, because in actuality, The only thing that matters is his inner convictions. This is what makes him a leader in his own right, and this is the inner source of power that will draw to him the people and resources that are in harmony with his purpose, not to mention the fact that he makes himself an irresistible magnet to the right woman who will be indispensable to his future success and happiness. Chapter 2. Iron sharpens iron. A man becomes the company he keeps. Let's face it, no man is free from the daily struggle of living up to that which he was called to be. No man is exempt from the trials and tribulations that arise simply from being a man. And no man can stand alone and say that he has all of the answers and that he's free from learning new things that will spur him onto a higher level of growth and awareness. As men, we are all in this daily struggle together. We're all here to share and to learn from one another. This is the only path that a man can take that will help him to evolve, because as it stands, no man can evolve on his own. Even though some of us may be uncomfortable with the idea of self-help, the truth of the matter is that the world can only help us if we truly help ourselves, and so that we can be in a position to help others. As men, it is important to look at growth as both independent and interdependent. Although a man will have to find his own path in life, he must also cooperate with those who will encourage him on this path and aid him in the fullness of his development. In order to achieve this, a man must surround himself with other men who are interested in his right development. These will be our closest friends, our business partners, our mentors, and our heroes. These various groups will serve as the models by which a man will design his own character. We all know that you will become just like the company you keep, and you cannot maintain certain close friendships and associations without taking on the likeness of such individuals. With this knowledge, it becomes necessary for you to become wise in the choosing of your closest associations and whom you spend your precious time with. You must become wise in the choosing of your heroes and those whom you admire and wish to emulate, at least in part. Admiration leads to emulation. Thus, it is in your best interest to choose friends, associates, mentors, and heroes based not only on the goal that you want to achieve, but also on the character you want to build. Character building is perhaps one of the single most important things in any man's life. Everything that happens in your life will have an effect and will be affected by the quality of your character. If you want to develop a higher character, then associate with those who either have noble, worthy characters themselves, or who are actively challenging themselves in the building of their characters. In other words, choose your closest friends, mentors, and allies very carefully. Choose them as if your life depended on it, because it does. External success, resources, and even the people we love will continuously come and go, but the one thing that will always remain with us as men will be our character. Character is that thing that will be tested continuously throughout a man's life. The maxim "only the strong will survive" rings true on many levels, as only those men who have spent their lives developing noble and worthy characters will be able to stand up against the constant defeats and obstacles of life. On living with honor, sometimes we can become so consumed with winning as it relates to our own personal success and achievements that we may forget the things that actually mean the most in this world. We become so wrapped up in our own personal issues and shortcomings that we fail to see the needs of those around us. It happens to all of us. Living in a society that demands of us a certain level of accomplishment if we are to be honored as men, we can sometimes lose focus. At times we believe that in order to attain the success we want and to have the things that success brings, we have to become so laser-focused on our goals that we become blind to the needs of our own comrades. It's important to remember that as men, although we are independent creatures in the way we think as human beings, we are also interdependent creatures as to how we relate and rely on one another. In this world, as the famous cliché goes, no man is an island. So how can we exist in a goal-oriented society and reach for the success that drives us to build, create, and produce, while at the same time remain grounded with who we are and from where we came? How can you, as a man, realize your deepest dreams and not lose those closest to you, the people that actually matter? Well, the idea is simple. Always remember this one sentence: you are your brother's keeper. it is doubtful that there is any other phrase as simple and as truthful in the entire world as it relates to being a man who is not only responsible for his own future and success, but for that of his fellow man and woman. This sentence epitomizes the idea that although we are independent creatures, we are also interdependent creatures. It epitomizes the idea that although we think and act for ourselves, we must also consider what ramifications those thoughts and actions will have on our fellow man and our external environments. This single phrase, this philosophy of brotherhood and goodwill to all, is not new, but that's why it is so special and so powerful. Consider every great religion that sought to promote the betterment of mankind, and you will find underlying them all this very concept in some form or fashion, a practical philosophy. The idea behind this way of thinking towards your fellow man stems from the way we look at people and what we intrinsically think about them. Naturally, the human mind has two main functions. One is to give meaning and the other is to ascribe value. This is how we can have prejudices and other forms of judgments about other people and our environments. Thus, if you keep in mind the idea that I am my brother's keeper, whenever you do give meaning to an interaction with another person, or ascribe value to a relationship or someone that you've just met, you will develop the habit of treating people with what is called honor. Treating others in an honorable fashion is extremely important too. Becoming a better man, because a good woman will notice the way you treat others and it will affect your capacity to fully trust and respect you as a man. But what is honor really? The word itself has many different concepts and meanings applied to it depending upon the context that is used. But in this case, when we say honor, we mean treating our fellow man with respect, admiration, and with dignity. In the days of knighthood in centuries past, honor was a key aspect in the knight's code. Chivalry was an essential aspect of knighthood, and being honorable towards others, especially your fellow knight, was of great importance. These knights knew that their success in battle depended upon the underlying relationships among the knights themselves and not simply on their own battle experience. Thus, in order that they may achieve individually, they had to succeed socially through their honorable actions towards one another. They were a unit, as men in the service of the army are familiar with today, and the success of that unit is dependent as much upon the quality in each individual person as much as the quality of the relationships between those persons. They had integrity with themselves and with one another, and this was the source of their strength in developing valuable bonds with one another. In short, they respected their fellow man. The core of this ideal is seen in the movie Gladiator, as the great Roman army general, Maximus, speaks to one of his trusted men before battle. Strength and honor. This is the way you should relate to your fellow man. If you think lowly of your brother, then you will not rely upon him when you need a helping hand. If you do not consider another man of any importance to you, then you may overlook an opportunity that may have skyrocketed your own personal success. This is why honor isn't just some vague concept, but a reality of brotherhood, of goodwill, of being your brother's keeper. It all boils down to believing that everyone has some kind of value to you, although it will be up to your own judgment of character to decide on just how much value. No human being should be dismissed or overlooked on your path to attainment. This is why the idea of honoring others is so valuable. Even though we know that to love all is divine, it's not that easy to translate that thought into a deliberate habit or action when trying to achieve success of your chosen path and trying to deal with people who may or may not want you to prosper. The habit of brotherhood. How can this philosophy be used in everyday life? Simple. Just let your interactions with others be led by the knowledge that you are responsible for their welfare, their well-being, and their overall quality of life as it relates to yours. This does not mean that you are responsible for the actions and decisions that someone else makes, but that you are responsible for your own. You are in control of your own thoughts and actions when it comes to living with honor and treating others with dignity. Instead of merely going about your life with the good intentions of not harming others, why not go about your life with the clear goal of doing as much good as you can each day? develop the habit of ensuring that those you come across on a daily basis receive the highest possible quality you can give them, whether in business or in friendship. Make it a practice of making life just a little bit better for those around you. This, my friend, is the mark of the true, chivalrous gentleman. Developing this habit will eradicate any selfish habits you may have. It's important that this happens because those men in society that we call high status are essentially men who are always looking to advance others. These are the kinds of men that know that in order for them to win in life, they must help as many people as they can to win as well. In short, become obsessed with helping others to win. Simply show people that you're concerned and that you sincerely care about their well-being. Everyone is unique, and so this can be done in different ways, but it is powerful and life-changing nonetheless. This kind of attitude will help you to become less self-centered and self-serving in your drive for success, and as an added bonus, you will begin to see opportunities and possibilities to expand your life in ways you've never seen before. Remember, God may help those who help themselves, but people are willing to help those who help others as well. Modern-day chivalry. We can all work on becoming more conscious to the needs around us. As men, we must allow ourselves to become sensitive to the well-being of others, both men and women. This is an important aspect towards your masculine maturity. In fact, the whole idea of chivalry means to be noble and generous in your disposition towards yourself and others. It means to be of good service to those around you by making it your business to alleviate suffering whenever it is in your power to do so. It's truly a heroic ideal in nature, but any man can begin to adopt a more chivalrous disposition just by being a bit more mindful of those around him. And this includes everything from the way you present yourself to the world and dress to your manners and communication skills. Refinement and duty is what is required of the chivalrous man. Crude behavior and perversity in all its forms makes beasts out of men, and no good woman in her right mind is going to prefer to be with a crude and vulgar specimen of a man over a chivalrous gentleman, a man of high status. So learn to be open to the concerns of those around you. It will put you in a better position to serve both your needs and others, whether they are intrinsic needs or external. The benefit this will have on your social life and romantic relationships is astronomical. You'll become the kind of man that a woman can rely on and that she will find irreplaceable. Having such a high level of empathy will put you in touch with her inmost needs and desires, and because you radiate compassion for your fellow man as well, she'll find your devotion to goodwill towards all to be quite admirable and overwhelmingly attractive. Chapter 3. Using constructive anger. Harness your anger, every man's tool for being more assertive. Anger can be a man's greatest tool in bringing about the change that he wishes to realize in his life. Often we get the idea that anger is bad, and to encourage wrath is something of an absurd idea. In my experience, nothing could be farther from the truth. Anger, as with anything else, can be used for either destructive or constructive purposes. It is an emotion, and thus it has the capacity to serve a higher purpose if we can control it. The beauty of anger lies in its nature. It is an emotion that builds upon itself. When thinking of anger in relation to an element, we normally associate it with fire. Fire is an element that consumes if left untamed. A wildfire can destroy acres of forest, homes, and even cities. It is a powerful element that can cause a great amount of harm if it isn't properly managed and controlled. The same applies with anger. Anger, like fire, has many uses and applications. A fire left to its own devices will continuously consume until it eventually burns itself out, and the emotion of anger, if left unchecked, will consume the one who generates it, and even perhaps those around him. This is the danger of the emotion of anger that we all have come to know. This is how anger is normally portrayed, and thus many men tend to have a feeling of guilt if we entertain the thought of anger and retaliation in our minds. But here is a thought for you. There can be no great achievement or advancement in any area of life unless something stirs up your emotion of anger. Without an enemy to engage, what reason do you have to achieve? Without a torment, what do you have to fight for in this world? The answer is simple. You'd have nothing to fight for. and nothing to fight against. Of course, this isn't to say that you need to go looking for something to fight against. Chances are, you're already fighting against something, or fighting for something. If you're always broke, for example, you're either fighting against poverty or fighting for your right to live abundantly. If your health isn't where it should be, you're either fighting against sickness, or you're fighting for greater health, wholeness, and well-being. Granted, these are simple examples, but they are useful nonetheless. As a man, anger will force you into action. The idea of suffering, powerlessness, and hell on earth is all a man needs to push him into bold and persevering action. And as he considers the circumstances that surround him, his emotions of anger may rise to the surface as he becomes motivated to solve the problems in his life or in the lives of others. This is the power of anger in action when it is harnessed for good. The link between anger and fearlessness. Have you ever been so angry with someone that you didn't give a rat's behind how they felt about what you had to say? I certainly do. This is anger at work, and its potential to imbue a man with fearlessness whenever he needs it. Who needs alcohol or some other artificial stimuli to give you courage, when you have readily available to you an endless supply of an even more powerful stimulus called anger? The reality is, if you can learn to harness the potent emotion of anger, you will have ultimate possession of the source of power that can fuel your manly courage when you most need it. Courage is something that must be done. It only exists in the form of actions taken or not taken, unless it requires conscientious effort to execute such a virtue consistently. Here is where a healthy dose of anger comes in. If you've developed the habit of cultivating anger and harnessing it, you can then transmute this powerful emotion in a way that will help you to take bold action. For example, suppose you've reached a point in your life in which you are simply sick and tired of your inability to attract and keep the kind of woman you want. For years you've allowed your fear of rejection and fear of failure to hold you back from a meaningful relationship far too many times. And let's say that you reach a point in which you've simply had enough. You reach a point in which you don't care what anyone thinks of you anymore. You've reached a point in which you could care less about the outcome. You've hit that low point in your life in which nothing on earth could be worse than your present non-existent love life, and you're ready to take the actions necessary to get your needs met. Regardless, if you've reached this point, then you, my friend, are angry and you're ready to do something constructive about it. Notice, only if you've passed the point of feeling sorry for yourself and are ready to take action in a positive direction have you experienced and subconsciously used the powerful emotion of anger for good. In this instance, your environment has pushed past your personal boundaries. You no longer hold the opinions of others as the guiding compass of your actions. Instead, your actions are solely based on getting your needs met, whatever they are. It is this anger, no matter how subtle, that will propel you to take the bold actions necessary in order to produce the meaningful results that you want to bring about in your life. Using anger constructively. Constructive use of anger requires a vast amount of self-discipline and a sense of purpose and direction. The same applies for fire, since to use fire in a constructive way requires someone who is responsible, of sound mind, and who has a purposeful use for it. This is also why I started this book off by discussing purpose and having a path to follow in life. Using our fire example again, attempting to cook a delicious meal using a gas stove and a match is quite different from trying to burn down your old high school. So when cultivating anger in order to make yourself take bold action, you should have a positive desired outcome in mind. Anger used for its own sake is destructive and useless. I can't repeat this idea enough because of how powerful this emotion is. Even Jesus himself became angry several times during the details were given about his life. In one occasion, his passion for the sanctity of the temple grounds consumed him, and without asking questions, he drove the sellers and money changers out of the temple. He overturned tables, broke the cages of the animals used for sacrifices, and probably even threw the money on the ground. It's obvious that he was angry. He was obviously passionate about something and he knew the results he wanted to see. At the moment, the temple grounds reflected something that was contrary to what he knew was right, and, thus, he took bold action driven by his zeal. I use this example merely to show that anger has its uses when properly cultivated and harnessed, and although cultivating anger may not be an issue for some men, controlling it usually is. The problem with just thinking positive. I like to think of myself as a pretty optimistic person. I'm an all-around happy guy, and truthfully I have the gift and the curse of being able to dissipate any anger I may be feeling about something rather quickly. Capital I was brought up with the idea that keeping your cool is always the best way to go about life. It can be a gift because I'm more able to quickly forgive people, forgive myself, and find ways to live with circumstances and situations as they pop up. But on the other end, many times I've allowed this natural tendency to become a coping mechanism that gives birth to complacency. In the past, I've naively allowed people to get the best of me either by not having well-defined personal boundaries or simply not defending them. In other words, I would not assert myself in a consistent manner. For any man, this would undoubtedly be quite problematic. Not being able to assert yourself is detrimental to your happiness as a human being. And what's more, it's impossible for any man to achieve greatly in this life if he cannot assert himself and allows others to freely invade his personal boundaries. So what causes a man to say enough already? Of course you know the answer. Anger. If you get a man angry enough, he'll show you exactly where he stands, and he'll let you know where you stand with him. He'll become truthful, honest, and open. He'll take the necessary actions to take control of his personal space, and he'll ensure that you'll think twice before trying to take advantage of him again. This is anger used constructively for the purpose of being assertive. This is the secret to getting your needs met as a man. You don't have to actually wait until something pushes you beyond what you can bear before you get angry enough to take action. Instead, learn to control the process and put yourself in that very same mental state whenever you need to do something that requires a lot of courage. How to use your anger to overcome fear. People often tend to think that it is the fear of loss that motivates most people to take bold action. That's only a part of it, because this very same fear of loss culminates into the feeling of anger, even if it is only subtle. If your back is against the wall and the bank is preparing to repossess your home, your fight response may decide to kick in, and the fear of loss can only lead to bold action if it turns into constructive anger. You may be angry at the bank, angry at yourself, at the economy, or even angry at the situation itself. But whatever it is, that feeling of loss, desperation, and anger can overpower feelings of powerlessness, hopelessness, and fear. This is the trick to cultivating anger and harnessing it. What really needs to happen is for your anger to reach the point of detachment. This is where the power really lies. When you become completely detached from a situation you're completely focused on getting positive results because you've had your fill of being pushed around by your external environment. You're a man. It's okay to get pissed off from time to time and to use that energy to make something good happen, whether it's an opportunity for character growth or a chance for you to achieve a goal. Turn anxiety-laden situations into opportunities for you to act constructively by cultivating anger. In other words, take your frustrations and channel it elsewhere. Refuse to burn your energy in a negative way. Instead, turn your anxiety into anger by defending your personal boundaries or getting your needs met. I learned of a great example of constructive anger in action from a friend of mine who is a full-time professional athlete. I had an opportunity to talk to him about his performance habits, and he told me the method he uses for psyching himself up before every match. He told me that he basically works himself up into a determined to win mindset by talking to himself audibly and imagining that his opponents are out to take the bread out of his children's mouths. In other words, he gets rid of any performance anxieties by using positive self-talk that makes his opponents out to be enemies. He's not simply telling himself I'm the best or I'm the greatest. He's literally getting so angry that he's determined to win in order to punish the competition. This is a perfect example of the warrior's heart at work and how you can Harness anger to assert your dominance and get what you believe you deserve. Now, I know how crazy this all sounds, especially if you've never played competitive sports before, but I hear this is pretty normal behavior for top athletes. Anger is useful when channeled constructively, therefore as a man you should take full advantage to call on your fighting fuel. Interestingly enough, even when it comes to relating with women, I've yet to come across a woman who didn't find it incredibly sexy and perhaps even admirable when a man gets angry enough to take bold action in getting his needs or the needs of others met. So the next time you become fearful when you need to take action, imagine that the thing you're afraid of is standing between you and your happiness. Become really pissed off at the obstacle, and fix in your mind the fact that nothing is going to get in your way. Now, I know you're a pretty smart guy, but just for good measure, channeling your anger is not an excuse to do anything illegal or absurd. Remember, it's all about using your imagination to fill you with the emotions that will propel you into constructive action towards a positive and worthwhile goal. So for heaven's sake, don't do anything to land yourself or anyone else in prison or in the hospital. But of course, I didn't need to tell you that, right? Good. Chapter 4. Practical Ideas for Personal Change. How to say no like a man and mean it. If you're going to start a company, start a family, raise money for charity, or even build and maintain a healthy relationship with a quality woman, then you're going to need to learn how to have a backbone. In fact, in order to succeed in this world in any manner, you're going to need to have a backbone. As a man, you simply cannot get away from it. Every person in this world has their own unique set of needs and wants, and they will impose those needs and wants on anyone who's either interested or just too complacent to say no. In my book What Women Want in a Man, I discussed how being a nice guy will only bite you in the backside later on in your relationship with a woman. If you do have a good woman at your side, be aware that she will undoubtedly grow wearisome and resentful of you and everything you stand for if you don't step up to the plate and put your foot down when it's necessary. Trust me, being unable to say no and to embrace no from others is one of the worst feelings a man can have. The feeling of helplessness and of being a victim will make you lose respect for yourself, which will in turn cause others to lose respect for you as well. You'll end up being depressed all the time because you feel as if things never go your way. Your habit of giving your power away to others by being a yes man will leave you feeling drained, uninspired, and simply unmanly. And this very same lack of manliness will show up in every area of your life, especially in your romantic relationships. The yes man wants everyone, including women, to like him and approve of him. So, to ensure that he wins their approval, he obliges their every request, even if it may be exceedingly difficult and non-beneficial for him to do so. He has a habit of accepting lose-win situations and ends up spreading himself way too thin. Sadly, the irony of this is that because he accommodates others at his expense, he is rarely able to fulfill his promises, which in turn makes those he easily accommodates resent him in the long run. Being Mr. Nice Guy isn't beneficial to anyone. So what's my advice? Learn to say no, mean it, and feel no remorse about it. If you're a chronic yes man, then it's going to take some time for you to stand up for yourself and say no when you need to without feeling a bit of anxiety and discomfort about it. And it's also going to take some time for you to reach the point where you can confidently express your desires and assert yourself even in the face of rejections that come in the form of no. If this is the case, the best thing that you can do is to ease into the habit of saying no to others when the request or situation does not align your values, goals, and priorities. As a man, you must have your own system of values, goals, and priorities that will act as a guide to help you make more effective, quality decisions in your life. Think of your system of values, goals, and priorities as a protocol by which you run in your life. Every single decision that you make should be based on this protocol. Following your protocol, core values, will help you to only say yes to requests and situations that either move you forward or, in the least, do not hinder your progression. The real man, the kind of man that a good woman respects and loves, refuses to lose sight of what he thinks is right just to pursue something simply because it's nice. Techniques for saying no. It's quite possible to say no and still maintain healthy relationships with others, including the woman in your life. In fact, learning how to say no without seeming like a complete jerk is all a part of the fine art of interpersonal communication. Being a no man when you need to be will make you far more effective in the world and in your relationship, so welcome this change with open arms and be willing to endure any kind of anxiety that may come with it. Don't worry, I'm going to walk you through it, but start with this great idea. Think of saying no as saying what you're offering suggesting is just not right for me right now, and think of hearing no from others as if they're saying what you're offering suggesting is just not right for me as right now. Adopting this simple mindset will save you a load of headaches in your relationships, especially when dealing with a great woman. And yes, saying no can be that simple, but let's see what other techniques you can use for reaching no to make yourself more assertive and confident. 1. The impersonal no. This is the kind of no that you would use when you don't want to appear as if you have something against someone or something in particular. It's actually the diplomatic way out in which you communicate that you simply cannot or will not do something based on your own personal preference and priorities. You do have your own priorities, don't you? Tonight's not a good time to come over. I've promised myself that I'm going to spend some time working on my business plan. It's very important that I get this done. I love your parents, but their visit will have to wait. I'm already far too busy this week to enjoy some quality time with them. 2. The sympathy no. Let the person know that you sympathize with their request and that you actually want to support them, only if it's true, but that you really cannot. I really do think you're building a great business here, and I think you're definitely going to make a splash in the market, but I'm just not passionate enough about your industry to work with your business. 3. The help out no. If possible, use this kind of no when you want to turn down a request, while helping the other person to get what they want from another source or to set up a future yes in which you can oblige them. I cannot make it to your office party tonight, but you can put me down as a volunteer for your company's annual charity event. 4. The your no. Use this sort of no to illustrate to the person that accommodating them will actually put you both at a disadvantage. I think what you're doing here is incredible, but I'm going to have to pass. I've already dedicated my time to several other projects, and if I helped you out, my involvement would only diminish the already stellar job that you've been doing. 5. The better deal no. Sometimes you just need to use no in order to create a better deal or opportunity for you and or the other person that's involved. Listen, I simply won't be able to accept this kind of work from you. Capital I think you're capable of something far better, and I'll be more than willing to give you the entire project if you can get this area handled. 6. The factual no. You can use hard facts or observations to illustrate the problem with their request and to help the other person to see your point of view. Honey, I don't think buying this car will be the best decision right now. Remember, we're still paying off your college tuition and right now, we're also saving up to buy a house together. 7. The firm no. Sometimes no means no, and that's all there is to it. When these types of situations arise, and they will simply say no, and refuse to feel guilty about it. If someone disrespects you or insists on wasting your time or resources, say no and be willing to walk away from the situation. No, I'm not going to sit in this restaurant with you another second. Your behavior is unacceptable and I will not tolerate it now or in the future. No, I don't want to. Hopefully now you have a few no's up your sleeve to help you ease into this new role of being an assertive and confident leader. Keep in mind that even though these no's will help to ease the suffering of the other person and allow you to feel somewhat nice, you must not be hesitant or seem apologetic as you say it. Say your no and mean it. Always be a gentleman in how you communicate with others by being warm and tolerant, but also firm, honest, and confident with your decision. Never let anyone guilt trip you into feeling a certain way because of your choice. Remain steadfast in making decisions based on your values, goals, and priorities, and you will gain the self-respect needed for you to make even bigger and more difficult decisions as you continue through life. Become brutally honest with yourself in terms of what your personal preferences and priorities are in life. And after you've learned how to have the utmost integrity with yourself, communicate it to others by sticking to what you believe is the right decision for you to make. Also, throw caution to the wind when it comes to what others think of you and say no as if your life depended on it. Be fearless, my friend, because the key to your happiness is freedom, and the key to a man's freedom is his ability to exercise courage. How to get out of your comfort zone. The secret to getting the most out of life every single day and doing the things that you really want to do in order to get the results that you really want is to simply master the science of getting out of your comfort zone. I call it a science because for most men it can require techniques and methods for ensuring that you do something every day that either terrifies you or that gives you a sense of what the hell am I doing? I've never done this before. This is something that we deeply need as men if we are trying to achieve a greater goal, or even if we just want to have a little more excitement in our lives. The comfort zone is that place that we think gives us a sense of security and stability. It's that place where we sometimes get stuck because of an outside obligation or responsibility. It's that place where we tell ourselves every day that we're happy with the way things are, and that we'll be selfish for pursuing our own paths. Don't confuse comfort with contentment. You can challenge yourself and find contentment in the challenges, but comfort in the comfort zone really doesn't exist. If you aren't habitually doing those things that force you to grow and stretch your levels of comfort, then you, my friend, are in what we call a rut. Getting out of the rut. Being in a rut sucks. It sucks a lot. I know, I've been there, repeatedly, numerous times. In fact, to be honest, if I'm not careful, and if I become complacent in my own thoughts and actions, I can fall back into it as well, as many men often do. But the difference now is that I am much more aware of when I've become too comfortable in my own world. As human beings, we tend to seek out ways and means of creating a constant amount of security and stability in our lives. This is why we get jobs, build successful companies, get insurance, save money in the bank, and so on. We want comfort. We want to know that tomorrow everything is going to be okay. We want a certain level of control. Even as men, we want security. But as you decide to mature as a man and step out of your comfort zone in pursuit of your own personal path in life, you will begin to realize that in order to attain more of the things that provide you with a sense of comfort, you must consciously challenge yourself and get out of your present comfort zone. Everyone wants to have more in life, but not everyone is willing to do what it takes in order to have the fulfilling abundance that they desire. In other words, if you're going to have more, then you must find ways of being more than you are right now. And the only natural process in which this will occur is by getting out of your comfort zone. I can guarantee you that on your path to success and personal happiness, you may feel as if you're either going in circles, spinning your wheels, or that every day is the same as the one before. When this happens, sit back and ask yourself, where exactly have I become complacent as a man, or what can I do differently in my life in order to create more fulfillment? Make challenging yourself a habit. When you find your path in life and you've decided to stay on it and become a rock for the woman that you care about, continuously do those things that terrify you. If there's one guarantee in life, it's that there will always be some terror barrier that stands between you and your most rewarding goals in life. If there isn't one, maybe you're not thinking big enough. Say yes to life. I know we've talked about being a no man, but hear me out. The whole purpose of becoming a no man is so that you can say yes to yourself more often. By learning to say no to requests that do not harmonize with your values, goals, and priorities, you actually grow to become more confident in challenging yourself by saying yes to the things that terrify you by taking you out of your comfort zone. Remember that movie with Jim Carrey when he became a yes man? No, not a yes man that sucks up and agrees with everyone because he wants to be liked and loved, but a yes man in that he played a character who decided to say yes to getting out of his comfort zone. Personally, I found the movie to be quite entertaining. I enjoyed the message behind the story, and Carrie's character was quite likable. In the movie, Carrie plays a boring, dull kind of guy who basically does the exact same thing every day and has made a habit of shutting out everything and everyone in his life. After attending a Tony Robbins type self-help seminar, he is coerced into saying yes to every opportunity that comes his way, no matter how bizarre. Of course, you can imagine the comedic situations that follow because of this, but you also see a progression in his life. The more he said yes, the more opportunities came his way, and although some bad or unwanted situations occur, most of them were pretty amazing. The whole idea behind his character development is that he consciously got out of his comfort zone. He did it continuously until he developed a habit of saying yes and challenging himself. Now, we all know that you shouldn't say yes to everything that comes your way, as Carrie soon learns, but the principle behind the concept makes sense. In other words, in order to get out of your comfort zone and get the most out of life, you must become aware of your own situation. Learn the signs of a rut. Learn the signs of a lack of passion. Learn what it feels like when every day is the same as every other day. Learn how it affects your mood and your personality. The faster you can become acquainted with what a rut looks and feels like, the faster you can get yourself out of it, or avoid them altogether. You must learn to become aware of how you're feeling, and then take the necessary action to change it immediately. Acting on the counterintuitive. The final piece of advice I want to leave with you is based on a sitcom. Yes, a sitcom. Bear with me. Let me start off by saying that I am a Seinfeld fan. I'm not a fanatic, but I've probably watched every single episode of the show, and some episodes I've even watched dozens of times. But one of my favorite episodes has to be when George, a neurotic, self-centered, approval-seeking, groveling loser, decides that he is going to do the opposite of everything he's ever done. Fittingly, this particular episode is called The Opposite. At that point in the show, George is a grown man who has no girlfriend, no job, and no bachelor pad to call his own. In other words, his life sucks. Now, after some deep thinking, he has a personal revelation and later reveals to his friends that he will no longer make decisions based on his better judgment, but that he will instead do whatever the opposite might be. In many ways, he becomes brutally honest with himself and others, and even acts courageously on several accounts in spite of his fears better judgment. Once again, of course, comedy ensues as he does all of this, but what's more interesting is how his life drastically changes in a few days, it seems, just by doing everything opposite of what he's ever done. This is another classic example of getting out of the comfort zone. If I could sum up the mindset behind what he was actually doing, I'd simply say that he acted fearlessly in the face of the unknowns. He went against his habit of seeking control and security, which actually ended up giving him better control of his outcomes. He acted counterintuitively to his standard behavior. Let me repeat that in a different way. He gave up his need for control and security that allowed better opportunities to flow to him. Now, of course, you're thinking, yeah, but that's just a television show. Although this is true, the show's producers have noted that people have sent them reports detailing how following this very same formula had changed their lives as well. So as crazy as it seems, the concept behind doing the opposite is the same as saying yes to more opportunities. You reap greater benefits because you learn to live in the realm outside of your comfort zone. Trust me, taking bold action, even in spite of fear, can and will get you places in life. And believe it or not, the more consistently you can act on your core values even in the midst of uncertainty, the more rewards and opportunities life seems to send your way. By the way, before you go, I'd like to say thank you for purchasing my book. I know you could have picked from dozens of books on this subject, but you took a chance on my guide, and for that I'm extremely grateful. So, thanks again for downloading this book and reading all the way to the end. Now, if you like this book, please take a minute or two to leave a review for it on Amazon so that other men can find out more about it. Your feedback is most appreciated as it helps me to continue writing books that get you results. Go here now to leave your review. http://amzn.to/2npsph2. And thank you in advance for your review. I am eternally grateful. More books by Bruce Bryans. What Women Want in a Man, How to Become the Alpha Male Women Respect, Desire, and Want to Submit to. In What Women Want in a Man, you'll learn how to become a high-quality, self-confident man that can naturally attract a good woman, maintain her sexual attraction to you, and keep her well-behaved in a relationship. Click here to check it out on Kindle. http://amzn.to/110mqoe. What Women Want When They Test Men, How to Decode Female Behavior, Pass a Woman's Tests, and Attract Women Through Authenticity. In What Women Want When They Test Men, you'll learn how to recognize and pass a woman's tests and become the assertive man that can maintain a woman's respect, sexual interest, and unwavering support. Click here to check it out on Kindle. http://amzn.to/1ahstag. How to Be a Better Boyfriend, the Relationship Manual for Becoming Mr. Right and Making a Woman Happy. In How to Be a Better Boyfriend, you'll discover how to cultivate a rock-solid, mind-blowing, romantic relationship with your dream girl, and what to do to avoid all the drama, bad girlfriend or wife behavior, and game playing that many nice guys often fall prey to in relationships. Click here to check it out on Kindle. http://amzn.to/pzbcmm. Meet Her to Keeper, the 10 biggest mistakes that prevent most guys from attracting and keeping an amazing girlfriend. In Meet Her to Keeper, you'll learn the 10 dating mistakes that stop most guys from attracting and keeping a total 10 girlfriend and how to overcome them. Click here to check it out on Kindle. http://amzn.to/rge08. Attract the Right Girl, How to Find Your Dream Girl and Be the Man She Can't Resist. In Attract the Right Girl, you'll discover how to find and choose an amazing girlfriend who's perfect for you, and how to spark the kind of attraction that'll lead to a long-term relationship with her. Click here to check it out on Kindle. http://amzn.to/refcvs. About Bruce Bryans. Bruce Bryans is a creative thinker, author, and courtship researcher, with a special interest in the dating and mating rituals of men and women. As an author, Bruce has written numerous best-selling books on topics including masculinity, sexual attraction, dating strategy, mating preferences among the sexes, and gender dynamics within romantic relationships. Bruce's main aim is to provide easy-to-implement, practical information that helps men and women improve their dating market value and mating desirability to the opposite sex. When he isn't tucked away in some corner writing a literary masterpiece, or so he thinks, Bruce spends most of his time engaged in manly hobbies, spending time with friends, or being a lovable nuisance to his wife and children. You can learn more about his writings and receive updates and future discounts on his books by visiting his website at www.brucebryans.com.